Hello and welcome to the 21st episode of the Pirate Rugby Pod. We now have over 400 YouTube subscribers and our next stop is 500. If you like what we do, please like, share and subscribe. Comments also give us a big boost and we always respond to everyone. If you're only here for Thistle the Cat shorts, stick around. You might decide you like rugby too.
A reminder that you can find us on Twitter and sign up for our free Substack. Links to both are in the comment section below. If you follow us, you'll get updates every time we drop a new piece of content, whether it be a podcast, video, or long-form article. But now to introduce our wonderful guest. He's taking time out of his busy schedule from treating patients and saving lives. It is Dr. Harley Worthy. How are you, Harley?
I'm not that kind of doctor.
What?
PhD, I'm PhD, not MD.
You've never said that before.
It's even in the Twitter bio, mate. You just don't pay attention. I talk about being in a lab constantly.
I thought you.
I can't be dealing with sick. I can't be dealing with sick people.
See how he's a fraud.
It is great to still have a doctor on the pod though for the first time, so we'll take it.
Yeah. Although I would be surprised if Catherine's got a doctorate that she just doesn't tell people about because she speaks very well. I wouldn't be surprised if she's got a few literature doctorates stashed away somewhere, but she's not telling anybody about them. Anyway, straight into the moments of the week then. Enda, you can go first.
Yeah, look, I picked a really simple one. I am a bit maybe soccer-esque, but I'm really enjoying the rugby transfer market at the moment. And just the whole story around, and we're going to get into it later, but the whole story about Snyman going to Leinster is just, you don't see this often. I think it's just a massive coup by Leinster. I really like the move. We'll get into the details and everything, but it just basically sounds like this fella really wanted to stay in Ireland, and Leinster, I've given him that opportunity. It sounds like it's only going to be a one-year deal now, but I think it's a brilliant bit of business by Leinster, and I just hope he's fit next season and we get to see more of him. We're all big URC fans in this pod, so I think it's great for the URC as well that he isn't going anywhere. So yeah, just love that bit of news. You just don't see that often in rugby. Like, there were rumors about him going to Bath, potentially going to Japan, going back to South Africa, and now he's ended up in Leinster, Munster's biggest rivals. Like, you couldn't script this. So yeah, that's my moment of the week. What about yourself?
My moment of the week was any moment watching the Bordeaux versus Bristol game. For me, I watched a few teams that try to play this kind of loose offloading, running everything game, and they can't. So watching a team that can play like that, and Bordeaux are really, really dark horses. Like, they've got some amazing players. Like, Penno's there now, and obviously every time I watch Jalibert, I think, like, how much is the gap between you and Intermac? Because it doesn't feel like much, if anything. And yeah, just watching them run those tries in, and then in a typical kind of, dare I say it, French way, in the second half, the game was kind of won, and they just sort of started half-hearting it a bit, and it fell off a little bit. But 26,000 people in the stands to watch it, and someone was sending me pictures of like the pre-match and everything before I just came on air, and it looks like a hell of a day out. So that was probably my moment. Harley, have you got a moment?
Well, I've got two. I've got one which is incredibly self-indulgent, or one which people would actually be able to relate to. So it's up to you which one I go for.
Both. Why not both?
Yeah. So the self-indulgent one. So my moment of the week was actually getting onto a rugby pitch myself for Sidmouth Seconds in a absolutely brutalising defeat. You'd think we were the Scarlets, and and me getting a 15 minutes outside flanker, which I'm not. I typically play blindside, so having all that extra space to run in was not good for me, who is slower than a few snails stapled together. In terms of actual rugby played by people who know what they're doing, it's probably not the most glittering moment. Going to be the most glittering moment in the young man's career, but in the Cardiff Bath game, Lucas De La Rua making a break and then passes to absolutely nobody, apart from apparently Andrew Ford, who was in the crowd and in direct line for that pass.
He got a shout, I reckon.
There must have been a shout or something, but
outside
it just looked but it looked so. So, full confession, watching it live, I was slightly pissed after my rugby game and our Christmas, and a few drinks with the boys at Christmas, and I honestly thought I'd imagined it. So I watched it the next morning, and I went, "Oh no, he's done that." that is objectively funny. I mean, I said it's not going to be something that he's going to want to be seen on the review on Monday. But it's just I like staff moments like that. And if I can laugh at Ben Young's doing it 4 times across 100 odd international caps, I'm definitely going to laugh when it's a young player for my team.
It was definitely 100 times over 4 caps for Ben Youngs. I'm convinced. Right. So let's talk about that big news that you mentioned there, Enda. So Snyman moving from Munster to Leinster, going from red to blue. Munster fans aren't happy. Can you just sum up how this has happened and why Munster fans may feel more than a little robbed?
It's kind of growing legs, this story. Like literally the piece on, because what I found very interesting about this story when I saw it after work was that I read the Leinster announcement and there was no mention of how long the contract was going to be, which I know Leinster do, especially when they're re-signing players. It's really frustrating they don't announce how long the deal is going to be unless it's an IRFU, generally, unless it's a central contract or something like that. And so I thought that was very interesting. So basically what happened was, Munster had a choice. They had to choose between John Klein and RG Snyman, and they went with
that's because
John Klein.
Klein is switched, because Klein was Irish qualified, and now that he's picked by the Springboks, he's no longer. And because of your rules, that's a problem.
Exactly, yeah. So with the RFU, you can only have 3 NIQ, non-Irish qualified players in your squad, and you can't have 2 in the same position. So because Klein had made that switch, then they had to therefore make a decision, and they've gone with somebody who's been there longer, and from what I read is going to cost them an awful lot less as well. Allegedly he's going to be on circa 300 grand or something like that, and Snyman, I should say, is looking for a lot more. But like, I think anybody looking from the outside, and I think most level-headed Munster fans will understand why Munster had to make that decision. Like, I'm sure they would have loved to have kept both players, but they simply couldn't. And I found it really interesting as well. This morning, I was listening to Bernard Jackman on the 42's podcast, and he said that like there's an unwritten rule there at the moment with the IRFU, and he doesn't think that they could actually start both Klein and Snyman in the same game. Like that's the type of oversight and control that the IRFU has on the provinces. So I don't think it's no surprise that he's left. I think the biggest surprise, obviously, is just that he's gone to Munster's arch rivals, and he's gone up to Leinster. And from what I read, you can read the statement that Leinster put out, but Snyman was also interviewed, and he said, the reason he's done this is because he settled really well in Ireland, and he wanted to stay, and he could not play on for Munster. Like, he wasn't offered a contract, according to Rory O'Connor. So, and basically, if you can infer from what what Snyman said, so that's why he's gone, and he wants to stay in Ireland. And Leinster obviously got a nice checkbook, and they've got Nienaber, and they got those connections. And I think it's a really good move for him and for Leinster. Like, who wouldn't want him on their books? It's just now it's broken that it's only a 1-year deal, and that potentially some of his games are going to be restricted, because they want, obviously, the RFU want Leinster to develop their own players, especially Joe McCarthy, who's having a really strong season, who's definitely going to be in Ireland's Six Nations squad. And apparently they're not going to give the green light to an extension beyond a year. Now, I don't know if this is true. This is what's being reported by Rory O'Connor in the Irish Independent, but just it seems like a really, really interesting story, and it just shows you the power that the IRFU have, and this, they influence almost every decision that the provinces make. Like, they green light all NIQ signings. They have to be run by the IRFU. But it's a really exciting move, I think, for him. And let's just for me, I just hope, like, I'm a Connacht fan first, but I follow all the Irish provinces, which I always kind of mention on this pod. But I just hope for his sake and for the URC's sake that he just gets some game time. We get to see more of him, because we know he's world class. Even when he did play for Munster last year, he was phenomenal. So I don't know, what was your, like, you guys are obviously big Welsh rugby fans. Like, what did you think? Like, what do you guys read into? Like, I know, Huw, you touched on maybe the Munster approach and how it might have pissed off some fans, and I'm sure it did, but that's how I view it from outside Munster. But how would you guys view it from a Welsh rugby perspective?
Go ahead, Harley.
So I mean, the NIQ thing is quite similar to what we have in Wales for the PRB. I don't know what the exact number is for non-Welsh qualified players in the regions. I think it's about 4 or 5. But don't quote me on it. And again, that has to be centrally agreed by the was it Professional Rugby Board. In terms of Munster, I feel like they had to pick one, so they picked the one who's going to be there and is going to be playing because of Snyman's injury situation. And when they've got their full squad fit and firing, they've actually got some really good young locks, particularly Edwin Adogbo, I think Tom Ahern, and the other one whose name escapes me at the moment. So I can just feel like I'm being glared by Patricia and Caelan. But it's it's not as much of a loss. Whereas I feel like Leinster need that big, that lock is going to come in at the end of the season, smash and add that extra physicality, because Leinster at the moment have a pack that will deal with most sides. But then the question is can they do it at the end when it comes to competition times? And Snyman proved that if you can get him fit for the end of the season, he will make that difference. So I think
for people who aren't detecting the subtext, this is Harley slagging off James Ryan. By the way, that's what's happening here.
I was not. I was merely suggesting that they have slightly different roles in the pack.
Okay. For me, I was a bit surprised because I saw like one Leinster fan was tweeting like, "Yes, this is exactly what we need," and I was like, "What have you not got? Like Leinster have literally got everything. Like what else do you need adding to your squad?"
Except for the titles the last couple of years. That's well, they are missing, exactly.
So I can't believe why Ryan Baird isn't more hyped than he is. I think he's incredible. A lot of people see him as a 6 rather than a lock, but to me he's very much a hybrid. So I don't know, maybe that shows how much I know. It goes down. Go on, mate. Sorry.
I think that's just how, particularly in the Island camp, they see him as a 6. And in Leinster, they will throw him in on the bench as lock cover if needed, but their main position for him is 6. So I think it's just one of those things. And again, obviously with Snyman coming in, Jason Jenkins, who's supposed to be again this big physical bit of heft in the pack, is gone. That's it. At least that's from talking to Leinster fans.
Yeah, nothing confirmed, but yeah, that sounds like that. Yeah, he'll be out, and Snyman will be, and not a bad replacement, huh? But
how the other half live. Speaking of players potentially moving away from Munster, it sounds like Joey Carbery might be headed to France. So we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, saying with France's money disparity between them and the rest growing, I think LNR today announced 165 million euro profit or revenues. Revenue. Okay. So we said it will be interesting to see if they can crack the Irish market, because we've obviously seen that seems to be the hardest place to get players out of is Ireland. And now it sounds like Joey Carbery is on his way. Now he's lost his place as first choice Munster 10 to Jack Crowley, and it seems like he's had a bit of a tough time with injuries. He would of course be ruling himself out of Ireland contention. Do you think the story of Joey Carbery in Ireland is a bit over now? Do you think it's just write it off to injuries have ruined that, and it's time for him to go and choose a different path to make his money?
I don't think so. Like, he's still a young lad. He's still only in his 20s. We know he's a really talented player, but we all know he's got a really bad injury history, and that's I think probably why he hasn't pushed on. He was brave enough to leave a Leinster camp that was very successful and push himself because he wanted to be a 10. He didn't want to be a fullback, and Leinster were fans of playing him at fullback. So I think, yeah, like, he's still young, like, and he still can make it. But personally, like, looking at it from my perspective, I think, like, if there is an offer on the table, maybe he should go with it. To make the most of his rugby playing career. I'm sure he'd probably be offered a lot more money over in France. And he's behind Crowley now, like, and but then again, like, Crowley's going to be away at Ireland a lot now, so Carbery will get that game time with Munster once he's back fit, and he could really push himself. I don't know. I feel like it's too early to write him off. He's still a young player. He's really talented, but if he makes that that move, I think we should back him as rugby fans, because he needs to make the most of his playing career. And if he feels like that's the best opportunity for him, he should go for it. But I don't think he. Yeah, I think he's just too young for me to be written off. I don't know what you guys think. If you've any opinion on whether or not he should stay or go, or what do you think? What about yourself, Huw or Harley?
I think the thing is, I mean, it's well known with Ireland that you've got to be a particularly special player to not be playing in Leinster and to get into that Ireland squad. You know, the few non-Leinster players, you know, they bring something really big. You know, whether it's Peter O'Mahony's work over the ball, his line network, and his leadership, or Matt Canton's X Factor, Bundy's just sheer unrelenting physicality. You know, they have to bring something so much more and work that bit harder. So I think with Joey Carbery, if he stayed in Munster or moved to one of the other two provinces, you know, he's going to be struggling to get behind Crowley, who's already been sort of picked in. And then you're looking at either of the Byrne brothers, or Kieran Crowley seems to be someone who they're interested in. And now you've got Sam Prendergast on the scene.
I was going to ask that last week. What happened to him? Because he seemed to be the next guy.
He, you know, the murmurings that he is, and he does seem like a really talented player. He was really good on the 20s level. There's just a lot of development to go. I think like he's still quite like he's a tall guy, but he still needs to put on a bit of bulk there. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm listening to. But he's no doubt like the future of Leinster rugby. I think at 10, it's just he's still a really, really young guy, and they're just going to give him that time. But he is getting a bit of exposure at the moment. But I think they're not rushing things with him, which I think is a smart move. But there's no doubt that he's really talented. But he's not going anywhere. Right. Well, who knows in this transfer market? It's been so exciting. We'll move on, will we?
Speaking of the market, it's not just players that are getting bought, it's entire rugby clubs. So Cardiff have been taken over. Harley, is it by an Arab state, as is rumoured, or is it by just some nice people called Phil and John from Cardiff downtown?
Yeah, so I keep making the joke. So I made the joke on Rap that, you know, it's not this big even investment banking company. It's Phil and Neil. God, you can't. There's nothing nefarious behind two guys called Phil and Neil. So they're both Welsh lads. So Phil's been involved with Cardiff Rugby, sort of just been in and around the club for well over a decade or so. Neil's been around for thing. For me, I think there's nothing to say that there isn't a lot of oil money or shape money coming from this thing, because they do say in business interests in the Middle East and across the world. I mean, it's probably going to be oil and pharmaceuticals, because that is where most of the money in the world is. That's just sort of a fact. But I still think it's overwhelmingly positive. Mostly from what they said from the first statement. I still think it's far too early to say anything. But their big priority seemed to be extending the lease for the Cardiff Arms Park with Cardiff Athletic Club, because despite what some people on Twitter say, Cardiff don't own their own ground. They lease it. And then they've been having arguments with the owners of the ground, Cardiff Athletic Club. Hence the reason why, as much as some people said Cardiff should drop the Cardiff, not the Blues moniker, these people who own the ground said, we'll rip up your lease and you won't get another one, and you'll have to find somewhere else to play.
That is a very Welsh rugby thing. To the people outside of Welsh rugby, that might sound really weird, that if Cardiff, for whatever reason, stopped calling themselves Cardiff, the landlords of the Arms Park would throw them out.
It's a very weird situation, and that is a completely amateur board as well. I've been told. So, like during COVID, they didn't have a single meeting because they all refused to learn how to use Zoom. But with all the talk and all the whisperings that Cardiff Athletic Club seem to like this group, they want to get this long-term lease so we can get a redevelopment. Huw recently visited the Arms Park, so you can explain to you that it's homely, but very much in need of a revamp. And their big issue, the big one there are the priorities, then is stabilising the pathways and making sure we're not training in a leisure centre. So that's good. If it happens.
And are we talking big money here in terms of like, could this be is this like how much money like are we talking? Like, is this just going to secure, as you said, the ground and maybe some academy facilities, like, or could this mean retaining some really good talent and buying in some mage hand, or is this more just kind of steadying the ship because the WRU kind of has more of a say, or what kind of investment are we talking about here? Do you know? And obviously it's early days, but
in the short term, it's more about getting all the. So the WRU have put a cap on player salaries, and that's going down. They've said there's scope maybe for 1 or 2, and then if you want to go above that, then the PRB, the Professional Rugby Board, have to agree it, which is usually a unanimous vote. So of all four representatives from all 4 regions plus a chair. I can't imagine the other 3 agreeing to that sort of disparity if they don't have to. So I think salaries and stuff are out. There may be some scope to keep 1 or 2 players we might not have these marquee player signings, but their priority is make the club sustainable, or as sustainable as a rugby club can be, and they want to. And they're supporters of the plans to open up like a business conference centre on the Arms Park site as well. So that's generating income not directly related to the rugby. So that, and then the idea is then to make sure we're in a good place. So then when the WRU and the PRB say, okay, now we can start increasing the salary cap, we're in a position to do it stably, and we're not going to end up as another Worcester or which is mid. Well, Worcester's a good one because that again was 2 people who said they were going to make the club more profitable and ran away with all the money. But the idea is, try and keep the sustainability. As I said, don't really know the guys. It's still early doors. In fact, this is all talk yet because it hasn't been approved at the AGM, which is coming up next month. But so it's actually a nice positive news story for Welsh rugby, which after this weekend we need.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so it was 0 wins out of 4 again for the Welsh this weekend, but it was a hell of a game in Cardiff. Attendances are really strong at the moment for you guys. And how did Finn Russell get man of the match in that game, Harley? Tell me. You've watched the game twice.
I do think this is the problem I've had with BT. What was BT now is TNT Sports. They clearly go for narratives and people who they think they can have banter with in the play of the match interview. I know there are certain players who openly say I don't want to do the press, so they won't pick them.
Yes.
But for me, he wasn't the best back in Bath Battler. I thought Ollie Lawrence actually had an incredibly good game, which is something that pains both me and Huw to say, with us both being less than complimentary of him in the past. But I mean, for me, I thought Alfie Barbery was unbelievable. Tom Dunn put a hell of a shift in. I thought there were plenty of people in Cardiff, even if we were on the losing side, were more than worthy of a man of the match performance. I actually thought Ray Lilo being part of that. I think Tinas De Beer won the battle of that head-to-head overall. Better goal kicking success. His kicks out of hand were great.
Where would you be without him?
Tries.
Could you think that the WRU tried to block you from signing him? If you didn't have him, what would you be doing? Like you or I would probably be playing fly half for Cardiff.
Well, I think it'd be Arwell Robson, who's currently just about getting games for Cardiff RFC, so our second 15. Or 2 literal children.
Yeah,
it's quite worrying.
Yeah, but it seems to have created a positive buzz around the club, and now it looks like you're going to be sold out for Boxing Day, which is good. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I still don't get how people buy tickets to that game. But I don't know many Cardiff fans or Dragons fans who think that's ever a good game. Like it's possibly the most hateful game of rugby in the calendar. We all despise it. We know it's going to be a dirge. To which we all collectively, on behalf of all Cardiff and Dragons fans, I apologise. Apologise if you decide to watch this game.
I will be watching it. I'll be doing an instant reaction to it. Let's move on to some other bits of action then. So, Enda, there was a bit of noise over the weekend about the Stormers defeating La Rochelle. According to some people, this was an upset. Do you agree?
I do not agree, as I hope you don't either. And I hope all our listeners don't either. Yeah, it was just a bit. Yeah, you wonder if these, I don't know if these people either just don't watch it or if it's just they know they shouldn't do it and they want to piss off the hipsters who follow the URC equals best league. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it just shows like outside of I think outside the URC, I don't think a lot of people looking from the outside who aren't fans of the URC, there are plenty of them. You know, they see any South African side going up against La Rochelle and any sort of home win over like the idea of the Stormers losing at home, but they never lose in Cape Town, and they're the URC finalists. Like it was a bizarre tweet. Was it the good, the bad, and the rugby?
Yeah.
Who said it? Yeah, that this was some sort of upset.
Of James Haskell and a literal member of the royal family to do their rugby podcast. So say no more.
Yeah, it wasn't a big upset. They are the URC finalists. They're a phenomenal side. That we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Generally, though, on the subject of La Rochelle losing predictably, with the exception of Toulouse, none of the French teams are doing particularly well. Like Harley, is this a bit of a shock that Racing are obviously 0 from 2, Toulon is 0 from 2. These guys have got all the money, all the players, and they're performing in their own domestic league. I think that Racing and Toulon are 1 and 2 in the league. Stad as well, 0 from 2. They should be doing better, shouldn't they?
And I hate going on about budgets all the time, but when you look at it, they should be. But then you've got to accept that I'm not sure French really give a shit about Europe, other than probably La Rochelle and Toulouse, which is probably why it's probably hurting for La Rochelle fans that they haven't won anything yet. Even especially losing to Leinster on their own patch, I imagine would have hurt their fans quite a bit. It's really odd, particularly Racing 92, because it seems to be no matter how big a name they get in or how good a coach they sign, it doesn't seem to click, and no matter how promising it is, it all falls away ultimately when you get into the business end of things. Yeah, I am surprised it's not a bit bold, but I mean, then you've got teams like Bordeaux, who I think have been quite good. More than easily handled Bordeaux. Lyon beat the Bulls again at home, so it's not. Yeah, those are the games they tend to do. Yeah, but it's still a win.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it doesn't help that this is a sort of league where you can get in on a win and a couple of bonus points, and you're through to round of 16, and then it's knockout rugby, and anything can happen. So, I am surprised they're not doing better, but similar play, I'm surprised some of the URC teams weren't doing better than they did last week.
Yeah, speaking of Enda, justify the massive Munster underperformance so far.
Yeah, it's a bit of a theme. Keane Tracy, the Irish Independent, did a really good, interesting piece on it today. Like this is their 4th game in the last 6 games where they've really struggled. And yeah, it's really tough for them to take. Now, obviously, it was a controversial decision, I think, to award that try. But yeah, there's something like I think like what you have to admire, really, well, from my perspective anyway, is Exeter. Like the amount of talent that club let go just so that they could balance the books or just and rely on back their youth. Like they had lads in the weekend playing who are still in university. I think that's to be admired, especially a club who's come up. So it's really hard to, even as an Irish rugby fan, to kind of to not respect that almost, how well they've been doing. But yeah, for Munster, I don't know, like it's a bad result, but the Bayonne result is worse for me. Like drawing at home and scoring 3 points in that second half against Bayonne that was unforgivable, and that's why they're in, I think, this situation. How like they're going to struggle now to get through. I think they still probably will scrape through because it's Munster and backs up against the wall. What better club to do it? But I think for me that their biggest hiccup so far has just been that draw against Bayonne. Like for patches, for most of the game, I think on Saturday against Exeter, or was it Sunday? It was Sunday. Was it Sunday?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They played really well. And I thought Jack Crowley was absolutely phenomenal. Like again, he probably cemented his starting spot for Ireland now with Six Nations around the corner. But they just switched off, and yeah, they are where they are now and backs up against the wall. But for me, yeah, their biggest hiccup of the season so far has been that home draw against Bayonne.
Yeah.
Did you catch the game, either of you guys?
I didn't catch much of it. I've got a kind of a duality thing going with Exeter, because whenever they lose, I go, ha, English team losing. But whenever they win, I'm like, that's that Welsh talent that they've got in their squad bringing them through. So I kind of get to have it both ways. Harley, there's a lot of hype in Wales about some of the talent that they've got down in Exeter. Particularly Daft Jenkins seems to be a real one, like captaining the team at 21 years old, and he's dragging into some results. And Henry Slade, to be fair.
I mean, the thing is with Daft Jenkins, I don't think you can call it hype, because I think he's shown that even at international stage, he looks really comfortable when he's playing for Wales, and he looks massive. And he just looks like he's putting on weight without losing anything. And he's shown up as a leader. He is reasonable enough line-out caller. I highly rate him when they first brought him through last season. He was captain of the side at 20. He'd only just come out of under 20s, and Rob Bax was starting in games. It was things at Premiership Cup and away games where they went, well, we don't really need to focus on this one because we're going to target Europe the next week. But they showed the faith, and he does lead very well. And he does seem to be a bit of a jack of all trades lock. He seems to have the physicality you want from his tight headlock. He's a decent enough line-out jumper. He calls the line-outs. His work at attacking rucks is really good, and his carrying's probably not the most, it's probably not the best, but it's still serviceable enough if you've got the primary carriers. So I think he's really good. I think the one name that keeps coming up, and a lot of articles are written about how he should be floating straight into the Wales squad, that is Emmanuel Feiwa-Boso, who, when he's played for Exeter, he's been really good. But he's also gone off before 20-minute mark in 3 games. And then had an injury. So he's, clearly they're using him as a physical winger before he's developed enough to be able to take that sort of punishment. I think it's something that people maybe need to just take a step back and just calm down.
We don't need more wingers in Wales. We've got too many anyway. We've got 3, doesn't go into 2 with Adams, Zammit, and Dyer. To be honest, if there's some winger in England somewhere pulling up trees, I'm kind of like, can he play tight head prop? That's what I want to know, because we need some more of them. Maybe number 8, maybe. Can he play number 8?
Got the physicality. I mean, one player who is unavailable to us, who has been shown up well, I was actually surprised he's making the team as regular as he was. I thought they were, because they like to have Slade as a second playmaker at 13. I thought they'd be going for more of a standard Bosch up 12, where they have them in other seasons. But Joe Hawkins has been playing really well. Seems really physical. And, when he needs to kick or pass, he does it really well. So, I think some of the Welsh talents absolutely fantastic there. Unfortunately, Shunza basically had 1 game back and broke his foot. But, I mean, Baxter would only try and play him at open side anyway.
Yeah. Weird situation they got with flankers down there. Let's talk about more Welsh sides then as we transition to talk about the Challenge Cup. Not much to talk about. Dragons got a really good result away. Well, they didn't win, but it was a decent performance away in Po, only losing by 3 points. Po are undefeated at home this season, so no disrespect in that. Ospreys got absolutely battered by Montpellier, and it was Montpellier's first home win since August. That is a bit embarrassing. Now, the Ospreys did have a lot of the under-20s team out, but they still had a lot of Welsh first choices in the team. So anyway, I won't be going too hard, because I am in the glassest of glass houses to be throwing stones in, which is the Scarlets. And I did the Scarlets pod yesterday. You could go on and on and on about it. There's a feeling within Scarlets fans at the moment that what's going on the pitch is a reflection of what's going on off the pitch, and there's problems higher up in the club, and there's culture issues. The fan group Crease 16 came out and issued an open letter in the last couple of days to express all the things that they think are going wrong with the club. And let's make it about Black Lion, though. A historic victory for them. They are not like in the old days of the Challenge Cup, when we used to have Romanian and Russian teams in there that were a good step below Black Lion, and not that. They were competitive against Gloucester, and they've now beat the Scarlets. I think in their next home game, it'll be interesting to see if they can get a result as well. So yeah, big up Black Lion. And then Enda, a darling team of the Pirate Rugby podcast, the Cheetahs, upset of all upsets, beating the Springbok-laden Sharks at the weekend.
Brilliant to see, wasn't it? In front of 7,000 fans. Like, I remember when they were in the Pro 14, I don't think they were able to even draw those type of crowds. So I thought that was a really nice element to their team. Pinar, I think he's 39. I think I heard commentary that he's turning 40 soon.
Yeah.
Steering the ship, still slotting kicks. What a brilliant result. Like, it's such a nice story. I think a club that's kind of just been left in the lurch, like they were basically replacing the, or whatever you want to call it now, Celtic League. We're no longer Celtic League, but yeah, like it's nice to see a club like they're still churning out really good players. Like, and I watched that game back, and by the sounds of it, a lot of these players are homegrown. And I think there was even a comment about how a lot of those Sharks players would have visited their families. Like, a lot of them are from Bloemfontein. They were coming back to play. Like, it was just a brilliant result. I think it's really good for the Challenge Cup. Like, it was a game that I kind of flagged that would be interesting, especially on the numbers side.
Isn't
it was
it
great
weird
to see
how that game only happened because of the European Cup?
Yes, it is.
Like,
yeah.
it's a happy accident, but it's bizarre.
And I think it's their only home game of that campaign. Like, I believe their home games are going to be in Italy again this year. So it was great that they got to play in front of their fans. But just, for me, it just shows you the talent that's still there. Like, I watched this game back, and it's not as if the Sharks were really poor. They were really good in spells, especially that second half. Now, it was almost like super touch at times, and like defense was definitely questionable. Tackles were definitely questionable as well. But you have to say that the Cheetahs deserve, and I think it's just a lovely look, I think, for the comp. And it just kind of leaves that question, and it's something that we discussed in previous pod. Like, what happens to, like, they need a competition to be in, I think, that is sustainable. Like, the Curry Cup, grand, but like they obviously they're more ambitious than that. No disrespect to the Curry Cup, but they probably want to be playing in these type of games. And I think it was just a lovely reminder of what they're about. And they're still, they're just still producing really good players, and it's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So last bit on the European action then. So it was a double win for the Italian teams. Benetton beating Perpignan and Zebra beating Oyonnax away from home. Harley, your team Cardiff has played both of these teams already this season, not beaten either. It really starts to feel like it's clicking for these Italian clubs now, and to see them getting European results, that there's going to be some people noticing these guys apart from us nerds at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the quality of some of the names on there, obviously, like Benetton's stacked full of Italian internationals, and actually they would, when they did come to play Cardiff for the first round of the URC, Cardiff were comfortably beating them until these Italian internationals came on,
and that lad did that thing to that bloke.
I mean, I mean, I'll be honest. I think even if that hadn't happened, they'd have still won the game. I honestly think they'd have scored off that, even if that absolutely moronic red card hadn't been awarded. The act's being moronic, not the award of the red card. That was fair. And then Zebra, you've got some fantastic players in there. Jacob Umanga, who he's playing the bench, isn't he? But you've got people like Jacob Umanga was being pegged as a potential rival to Marcus Smith for the England 10 shirts a couple of years ago. They signed people as Jake Pellegrini now at Zebra. You can see they're putting the money in to develop these squads, and I think Benetton's on a budget that rivals the likes of Connacht, Glasgow, and Edinburgh. So they can afford to put these things. I know yes, but they're putting the money in, but they put it in the right way. They started developing their own talent. So they sorted out their development stream and making sure they've got good coaches in place, and there's a pathway there. And then now they've got that stable. They're saying, right, what do we need? Do we need to bring in a Thomas Albanos as a 10? Do we need to bring in Rhino Smith to sort of as fullback, sort of 10 cover, who's got all that experience from his time playing in South Africa to help them win these last minute games, get clutch kicks. Zebra, we're starting to see it. I mean, I might joke about them playing with 40 men and a bloke called Tiff most weeks, but they're a really good, they're a really good side. And for the last couple of years, they've been running teams a lot very close, and it was only a matter of time before they were going to start turning teams over. Leinster, I think the last couple of times they've gone on there, they've had to throw in the emergency internationals just to get a result. I think they were unlucky not to beat Ulster in the first round. I said they're serious teams, and when they're playing against teams who aren't necessarily going to take it seriously, they're going to get that a win's a win, so they're going to get more confident as these wins stack up. And I think a lot more teams have got to take them more seriously.
Yeah, and the best thing about Benetton as well, and we've touched on this before, is that they're getting really good crowds this year, which I think is really important. So it's not just that they're spending money on players and there's nobody showing up for these games. Like the crowds are showing up for regular URC games, and that's what I think is really positive.
Yeah, definitely.
And
okay, right.
Great
yeah, definitely. Definitely worth a trip over. I know a lot of Scarlets fans like to make the trip, and why not? All right. Next, we're going to take a break from normal proceedings, and because it's our last show before we have a bit of a break for Christmas, we're going to play a Christmas game. Are you excited? I can tell they're excited by their faces. So
I'm so excited.
This is something that I've come up with, and I'm going to be quizmaster, and these two are going to be playing. So I've got to share my screen, which means I can't see your excited faces once I do that. So say when you can see.
Yep.
Okay. This is rugby higher or lower. So one of the reasons I wanted to get Harley on this show is because I know that he's got his spreadsheet full of all player heights and weights like me, because we're creepy like that.
In my defence, it's only Welsh squad members.
Okay, right. So there's not there's not that many Welsh.
You've got Pro D players in there, I'd say.
No, I haven't. Well, not in this one, but I do have Tom Francis's stats in another spreadsheet, and he is technically a Pro D player. So yes, I have Pro D players' stats. Anyway, so it's a game of higher or lower. So it's split into 3 rounds, and the first round is based on player height. So underneath each of these Christmas trees is a player, and all you have to do is say what I'm going to show you the first one, and then you have to say whether the next one is higher or lower. I'm going to show you who the next one is, and then I have their height underneath a little card, and then you have to say whether you think that player is higher or lower than the one that preceded them. If you get it wrong, the opportunity passes to your opponents to guess. It can be higher, lower, or the same. There are some the sames in here. I will give you that much. So it's height first. Are you ready? Who wants to go first?
Harley's up. He's our guest.
Harley's up. Okay. So whoever gets the last one right is the winner. So it's not who gets the most, it's who gets to the end one first is the winner. Right. So the first player is Willy Antonio, the French tight head prop. And he is 197 centimeters tall. Okay, so that's our starting player. The next player is the Argentinian captain Pablo Matera. So Harley, is Matera taller or shorter than Antonio?
I'm pretty sure he's shorter.
That's what I'd say.
You don't get to confer, and you're competing against Harley here. Okay, so Harley, are you going shorter?
I'm going shorter.
He is shorter, 193 centimeters. Congratulations.
I
So
have
next one.
Do I get any points for?
No, you don't get any points. It's not a point system. It's whoever gets to the end first. Right. Under the next Christmas tree is Adi Surveyor. Is Adi Surveyor taller or shorter than Pablo Matera? Harley.
So I'm just trying to think of Argentina All Blacks games. Oh, I'm going to be. I don't think you'd pull one out so soon, but I'd say they're about the same height.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah, I'll go about the same. As long as I get to pick the last one, it doesn't really matter.
Let's see if you're right. He's not. He's shorter. So it now passes over to Enda. Enda, your next player is Bundyaki. Oh, you got lucky here. It's your own Connacht man. Is Bundyaki taller or shorter than Ardie Surveyor?
Shorter.
Shorter. Locking in?
Yeah. Locking in.
Bundyaki is shorter by a whole 10 centimeters than Ardie Surveyor. Ardie Surveyor is 190. Bundyaki is 180. This is all according to Rugby. All Rugby is where I get all this from. So if you disagree with my heights, argue with them, not me. So it sticks with you then, Enda. Next player, Wales captain Jack Morgan. Is he taller, the same, or shorter than Bundyaki?
Taller.
Taller? You going taller?
I'm going taller.
It's the same. They're
Yes.
both 180 centimeters. Unlucky. So it goes back to Harley again. So Harley, your player. Thomas Ramos, the French fullback, / Toulouse number 10. Is he taller or shorter than Jack Morgan, Wales captain Jack Morgan?
I'd say I instinct would go shorter because he's. I think. Yeah, I think he might be tall for a fullback fly half, but I don't think he's tall for a player.
Okay,
I'd say
let's
it was
find
short.
out. He is shorter.
Ooh.
Congratulations. He's 2 centimeters shorter than Jack Morgan. Next
All
player,
counts.
Ben Earl, seen here celebrating a reset scrum or something, I assume.
I don't know. That's
So-
only one thumb up, so I think that's his own team's knocked on. I'm going to say taller because I think he is quite
Taller.
like. I think he is quite long.
Oh, let's see. He is taller, 186 centimeters, a whole 8 centimeters taller than Thomas Ramos. Next up, Malcolm Marks.
Oof.
Malcolm Marks, the
this
South African hooker. Is he taller
this-
or shorter than Ben Earl?
This is quite a difficult one. I'm going to say shorter.
He's gone shorter. Let's find out.
I know he's quite a tall hooker, so
He is taller. He's 189 centimeters. Malcolm Marks is the tallest hooker in world rugby, as far as I can tell. And he is 3 centimeters taller than Ben Earl. So, Enda, it's over to you. There's only 2 cards left. It's getting exciting now. So, the next player.
It's been exciting from the beginning, Huw.
Semi Randrandra. Is he taller or shorter than Malcolm Marks?
Oh wow. Taller.
It's gone taller.
He's not. He's definitely shorter.
He's shorter by 1 centimeter. 189 to 188. I don't have a tiebreaker. I don't know what happens if, Harley, you get this one wrong.
I guess it just defaults to Enda. I guess.
I'll take that.
Yeah, okay, sudden death. I'm all about it. So, Harley, it's all on you then. Your player is Marky Mark Nwanui Tawase. Is
Well
he
done.
taller or shorter than Semi Randrandra?
Oh,
I can't remember, by the way.
Because he is quite a long boy, isn't he? Risky. I'll say he's taller.
He's gone taller. Enda, if he's got this wrong, you're the winner of this round. He is taller by 2 centimeters. So congratulations. That's the height round. How do you feel about your victory?
I feel like I've gotten that last minute penalty at the death to beat your closest rivals.
Oh, it's a good game, good game. Right. On to the weight round now. So again, 10 players. Harley, you won the last round, so you get to start this round as well. So the first player that we are talking about is Wales hooker Ryan Elias. Ryan Elias is 110 kilograms. So this is weight now, so we're in kilograms. So the next player under the Christmas tree is Woki, Cameron Woki of France. Is he heavier or lighter than Ryan Elias?
I'd go heavier. Based on
Going
fact,
heavier.
boys tend to be slightly heavier.
Let's find out. He's lighter. So it goes straight over to Enda then. So Enda, your next player under the next Christmas tree is Arnold from the Wallabies. the second row. Is he heavier or lighter than Cameron Woki?
Heavier.
Gotta
Go
be
on, heavier.
It's gotta be.
He's a lot heavier. He's 127
He's the
kgs.
big boy.
He's a big boy. He's a big boy. He's a full, what is that, 17 kilograms heavier than Woki, and Woki is a back rower, second rower hybrid. Incredible scenes. Right, next player. Eben Etzebeth. Is Eben Etzebeth heavier or lighter than Arnold?
Heavier.
I'm going heavier.
Mm-hmm.
He's lighter by 1 kilogram.
Oh.
I should add that, you know, these weight stats, that when it gets to
Yeah,
like
when
1
were they-
kilogram, it's like, has he had breakfast yet or not? If not, then it might be a bit different. But that's just how the game goes. Right. So, Harley, back to you. The last player was Eben Etzebeth. We are now on Golgadze of Georgia. Is he heavier or lighter than Etzebeth?
I'd say marginally lighter.
Marginally lighter. Let's find out. He's a lot lighter. He's 110 kilograms, so 16 kilograms lighter. But you get the point anyway. You don't have to be completely right, just partially right is fine. Next player. Fijian captain, one of our favourites here on the Pirate Rugby, Wasaya Naithalevu. Is he heavier or lighter than Golgadze?
I can't imagine being heavier than a back row. I know Fijians are quite stocky lads. So I'm going to go the same just because we haven't had the same weight yet.
You going the same? Let's find out. A bit of game theory from Harley there. Interesting. You should have trusted your instincts. He's lighter, and by a lot. He's 15 kilograms lighter, 95 kilograms.
He's almost 5 kilos lighter than me.
Oh dear, oh dear. Right, Enda, over to you. Next player. This is Corabetti of the Wallabies. Is he heavier or lighter than Wasaya Naithalevu?
He is heavier.
You going heavier?
Yes.
He's lighter.
Oh,
What?
He is 2 kilograms lighter, according to
I said
all
that with so
reports.
much confidence as well.
is he part helium?
I think he's quite short. I think he's deceptively short, is what it is.
It's a
But
disaster.
it's a shock result. It's a shock result. Next player for you, Harley. Freddie Stewart. Is he heavier or lighter than Corabetti? He's a long boy.
Heavier, surely.
Sure
Heavier,
is.
surely. He's like 6'5".
He is heavier. He's 8 kilograms heavier. Next player. Rico Ioane of the All Blacks. What are you saying, Harley? Heavier or lighter?
I'd go lighter.
He is heavier
No way.
by 2 kilograms. Right. Enda, it's your chance to win it. Next player. Sia Khaleesi. Save the best till last. Is he heavier or lighter than Rico Ioane?
Heavier, but not by much.
Heavier, but not by much. Let's find out. Oh, he's nailed it.
Oh,
1 kilogram. 1 kilogram. So this is both after they've had their Weetabix. Sia Khaleesi is 1 kilogram heavier than Rico Ioane at 104 kgs. Right. It's 1 round each, ladies and gentlemen, as we go into the tie break. So what I have here is 5 international rugby teams. This is the last round. I've got France. I've got the Wallabies. I've got Ireland. I've got Georgia. And I've got Argentina. What I want you two to do, working independently, is rank these in terms of pack size. So the forward pack, I want you to rank them in terms of pack size. Size is weight and height. So I'll tell you how we'll do this. I want you to both tell me which team you think is the biggest.
France for me.
And is going
I'm-
France. What
Or
are you going for?
Wallabies.
It depends on how you've picked the pack and what team you selected.
Okay, so this is going
I'd
off.
say what I would have called the first choice Wallabies pack. You're looking at Skelton and Richie Arnold in the second
Okay,
row, and
That's a
for
fair
me would
question.
make
That's a
them
fair
five.
question. I'll tell you what I've done. This is the team that they fielded in the first game of the 2023 World Cup. So pool game 1, each of these nations, they all fielded full strength teams. I can tell you that. So I'd like you to tell me which nation has the heaviest pack, or biggest pack, I should say.
I'm basically boiling it down to the second row. I'm going to suggest maybe the Wallabies.
Interesting. Enda, you got any thoughts on that?
I think he's right. Skeleton is a big boy, so I'm against Leinster. He is, yeah. And Arnold, as we just saw above. Yeah, Wallabies.
You've both gone Wallabies. Let's find out. It is correct. You might be able to see the text there. Ooh, wrong one. Make it a bit easier to see.
The excitement levels are now off the charts for our
Australia
listeners who can't see our excitement.
Australia are the biggest pack of these ones, so that's one down. It's down.
I feel sorry for all the viewers who are red green colorblind.
It's Christmas colours. It's too late now. So, next heaviest pack out of these 4 between France, Ireland, Georgia, and Los Pumas. Who is the second heaviest pack?
France for me.
Yeah, this is getting really boring because I think I agree with you, because for me it was I'm in orange between France and Georgia.
Yeah.
Who's that back row? I think the big one for France is having been Antonio.
Interesting.
It's exactly what I think of, yeah.
Yeah, I stick with France. Although I feel like without Paul Willems in the France pack, that does reduce the size a bit.
It's right. France is the second heaviest pack. Well done. You're 2 from 2, both of you.
Is that kilograms on the left-hand column and meters on the right? Or the other way around? Or centimeters on the right?
No, yeah. So yeah, it's height on the right, kilogram on the left. So they're the same height.
Got the same height. Yeah.
Same height, but Australia nearly 50 kgs heavier across the 8-man pack.
I think that's just Skelton.
I can tell you that, well, Skelton is the tallest and heaviest lock at the World Cup, and Australia are by far the heaviest pack at the World Cup. So that's why I picked them. Right, so you're down to only 3 choices now: Ireland, Georgia, and Los Pumas. Who is the heaviest out of those 3?
I feel like Ireland are deceptively heavy, but maybe not necessarily tall. Los Pumas have got some big boys because they tend to go with a sort of lock hybrids. 7s in their case. I feel like Georgia aren't necessarily the tallest, but are quite bulky.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted to go. Who would be in that second row? It would be Ben Ryan.
I'm going to have to hurry now, Harley.
I'm going to go with Los Pumas, the third.
Gone Los
Same.
Pumas.
I'm sorry, it's really boring. Yeah.
Guys. Right. Let's find out.
And we're going to be right.
Argentina is correct. Right. Okay. So it's all down to this last one. So just be good sports and don't pick the same. So between Ireland and Georgia, who has the biggest pack?
I think Georgia.
Straight
in.
I'm going to pick. I was going to pick Ireland, so that actually works.
So let's just get it clear. Enda, you've picked Georgia. Harley, you've picked Ireland.
Yeah.
Okay. And just to be clear, whoever gets this question right has won not only this round but the entire game.
Oh wow!
And will be the Pirate Rugby Christmas champions. Enda, Georgia, Harley, Ireland. Let's find out who is heavier. Georgia are heavier. Enda has won it. Harley, the guest, is in the mud.
I'm not going to sleep a wink tonight. I'm just full of joy right now.
See, I was thinking of height as well. That's a problem. You ranked it by weight.
I have gone by weight, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking height as well.
Oh, there you have it.
Oh well.
Right, that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it
Oh, I
was.
can see. I couldn't see your faces during that. I could see Enda's catching his breath. It's like that.
We'll move on, will we?
We'll move on. Right. Let's wrap up some of the other club stuff going on. Right. I'll get the Japan stuff out of the way first. So I'm not going to do all of the games and all of the faces and all of the people this time. I'm just going to say that Son Goliath. Bit of news. There was a story went around that they'd cancelled Gareth Anscombe's contract on him being injured. That is untrue. They have cancelled his registration for the league, but they can re-register him later. So he is still employed by Son Goliath, but he is currently in Wales recovering from his injury. So that's that. Wild Knights, who have the fly half of Matsuda, who was a favourite of us during the World Cup, Japan's international fly half, played. Oh no, sorry. So Wild Knights are top, and Brave Lupus, whose fly half is Richie Mwanga, are joint top as well. There are 4 teams on 2 wins from 2. Honda Heat, unfortunately, are bottom, having conceded 155 points in 2 games. And also, there was. Yeah, all right, thank you. Dragons got more points put on them in South Africa than we did. That's all I'm saying. Damien Dialende also made the rounds for kicking a single conversion in the game for some reason. Nobody knows why. It wasn't even the last conversion of the match. He just did one. Cool. What about Pro Dead Ender? Any news there?
Brive beat Vaughan with an added time penalty from. Yeah, so last minute penalty from Stuart Olding, and Provence beat Biarritz, and Sturtis scored 2 more tries for Beziers as they beat Roman. What is going on in Premiership Women's Rugby? Saracens are on maximum points after they put Tigers to the sword, who sit bottom of the table. Gloucester sit 4th, but with 2 games in hand. What's going on in the championship, Huw?
Ealing versus Cornish Pirates was unfortunately abandoned after a player was knocked unconscious, and in taking him to hospital, there wasn't enough medical staff left at the game to continue playing. Fortunately, that player has now been discharged from hospital, so good news there. Doncaster are now just 2 points behind Ealing at the top of the standings, so maybe a bit more jeopardy in that league than we were expecting. I'll let you talk about AIL and give me an update on all your boys over there.
There seems to be a very common theme in the AIL. Clontarf are still unbeaten and they're still on top. And Dublin University, sadly, are still rock bottom and winless. And we'll let you finish things off, Huw, with the roundup of the Welsh Premiership.
So Llandudno are absolutely unstoppable. They picked up a very routine win over Aberavon. They're now 6 points clear at the top of the standings with a game in hand. Cardiff also got a big win over Merthyr, and Swansea beat local rivals Neath, which I'm a bit surprised was played this weekend. I would have thought it would have been played over Christmas as being that local derby, but oh well. What about the TV guide then?
Yeah, we've got a good few games. So the URC is back this weekend. We got the top 14 back, the Premiership, we got the Premiership Women's Rugby back, and we also have Super Cup action coming up this weekend. So we'll have all the details of all of those games out on Thursday in our out on Friday morning on our mini breakfast pod show. But I think that's pretty much us. Massive thanks to Harley for jumping on. Been a great guest, and we'll hope to have you back someday. But really appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so very much for listening. We're going to take a break of a couple of weeks over Christmas. We'll be with you on the Friday breakfast show, the mini pod this Friday. But if you don't listen to that, listen to it. But if you can't for some reason, happy Christmas and have a great new year. Cheers.
Thanks, folks.
Yeah.